YouTube? It's Kurt here, and today I wanted to have a little discussion on the three-finger technique versus the four-finger technique. And I've seen some questions online about when to use which technique, or if one is more important than the other. And ultimately, what the answer is, from my experience and research, is that it all depends on the situation. Eventually, you should get to the point where you master both techniques inside of your playstyle. The more diverse your playstyle is, the more interesting it's going to sound. And the more solos you can play and the more people you can mimic. Now, what you'll use with your three-finger technique, and a lot of blues players use the three-finger, you'll use that, with your blues scales. Like when you're playing in a blues A, and I'll go through that scale right now, you're going to have a lot more coordination with your ring finger. You'll always have more coordination with your ring finger than you're going to have with your little finger. So, with that said, like when you're playing a blues scale, you don't really have a need to get your, I'll call them in-between notes. When you're playing the blues, essentially you're playing 5 notes in the scale. So you're not going to use your middle finger that much, and so really you just got to, you got to split. And your ring will be very important in that, so. And at the bottom end, you can, of course, use the middle finger when you're just doing the flat notes. That makes it sound more sad, I guess, when you're doing this. So that's when you use your middle finger. But up here, it's just a lot of these two fingers. So, like, if you try to do it with your pinky, you can do it with your pinky. But it's just going to be more difficult. What you want to use your pinky with when you're doing either a pentatonic scale or a blues scale is catching one of these strings up here when you're doing a bend. So like, that'll be when your pinky comes in handy. Or of course on your B string you can do that too. Okay, but if you're playing in a major scale, again, it depends on where you are in the scale. If you're playing, if you're playing canon, you're going to be high up on your D scale. You're going to be about right here. So you're going to have to use, a four-finger technique. So play through, it'll play like this. And of course, that's pretty much the only way you can play it, is when you use your four-finger technique. And obviously you can be really dexterous. It's easier to be dexterous when you jump from your middle finger to your little finger, because the tendons are just less attached to each other. There's more distinction there. So you can do some easy pull-offs, or what have you. Now if you go a little bit farther down, here's the D. You're still in D right here, but if you're playing the scale from here just to make a different sound, like just playing a solo in D, you can do that too. And it's going to be a lot easier to move to your three-finger technique when you do that. So obviously when you, say you're trying to play D, and you put your pinky on this note right here. Sorry, I forget my notes sometimes, but it's just going to be harder to do that pull-off. Now, here's the interesting part. You come down here, we're going to still be on the D scale. Now, if you want to, here's the pentatonic D. When we're down here, if you want to hit all the notes, you can actually switch between the two. Like, I find it easy when you have a three-finger technique on your E string, do a pull-off, and come down and use your, if you want to finish the pull-off, come down to your four-finger. And if you have enough coordination, you can turn that into muscle memory, and you can go back and forth. So, the diversity to be able to change when you want to is going to make your playstyle just sound that much more interesting. Now, obviously, there's always situations in which you'll use an awkward just technique. So if you're coming up here, a lot of people, we'll go back to the D just for an example. So if you want to do one of those, obviously you're skipping a fret between each finger. So if you're at the very top of the scale, what you can do if you're using that technique, at the very high end of the scale, you can use the 1, 2, 3 and skipping a fret in between each finger, and then hit that extra note with your pinky. And there's just various techniques like that that will be very diverse, and they'll require more dexterity and just more practice. Practice makes perfect. What can I say? Okay, not that I'm perfect, but hopefully that was a good lesson. It's just something that I found in between the two techniques. It's just all situational. None is really dominant over the other. And if you have any questions or any more comments about when to use what technique, leave them in the comment section. If you have any other guitar-related inquiries, feel free to inbox me or chat at me or email me or, yeah, do something. Sticky notes on the computer screen. Never mind. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.